you want to know what good demos sound like, you really do. A lot of people have asked about this, is why I keep going on about it. There are a billion agencies, voiceover and talent agencies out there that have all of their talent online. Go listen to all those. That's what I tell people to do. Just go listen to them and see what they sound like and try and mimic that sound. That's what you want to do.
Yes. Who's next? Everyone.
How about way back there? The one who's selected.
Yeah, you.
I'd like to know what do you guys think of making for online and also creating
Can you hear a word?
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry. Can you come up?
Thanks so much for it.
What made us want to make Sword Art Online?
No.
Okay, so I'm the only one in Sword Art Online. Basically, people in Japan produced it, and Aniplex, which is a big production company that has offices in LA, they saw how popular it was in Japan, so they decided to do an English dub and release it here because they thought that there would be a big audience for it. And you know, when a big production company decides that, they have castings, and they have to audition, and, I was lucky enough to get called in to audition for it, and I love the character, and the casting director likes me. So that's how I got cast, and, yeah, that's usually how it happens. And then if you could be any character, who would you want to be? Do you mean in real life, or if you could voice any character? In real life. I'm going to still go with Marine number 2.
He was technically Marine number 1, but we established that he wanted to be Marine number 2.
Yeah.
Real
You
bad.
would also want to be Marine number 2.
Yeah.
Can we just all be Marines?
We're all Marine number 2.
Let's see, if I could be any character in real life. I'd be Batman, of course. Because why not? He has the coolest vehicles and a really uncomfortable outfit.
And he lives in a cave.
That's true. Okay, I changed mine.
Come on, the ultimate.
Tony Stark, thank you. Same thing, except better accommodations.
I don't know which superhero I would be. I think I said yesterday to Tick. There's a guy right here behind the guy with the striped shirt. Yes, you.
Have you ever had a part you regret doing, whether it's like it just turned out bad or anything like that?
We have a part that we regret doing. No.
Yeah, I do.
No, like if something's going to make me uncomfortable, I just won't do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
But I'm sure that you've had a couple of roles along the way. That you never regret being cast on anything, FYI. You never go, wow, I wish that person did not hire me and pay me money to do something awesome like voice acting. But there have been, and especially we see this a lot in Texas. I don't know if you see it.
Where you going, Frank?
California. Oh, he's got a good shave or something. Sorry. There have been a few roles that are just painful, like just truly, like there's some that you regret. You like doing it, but boy, it hurts afterwards. There's some real throat rippers.
Oh,
in the past.
Yeah. I was in Spec Ops The Line, and I lost a really big job the day after because I was hoarse. I was supposed to be one of the Kiba elves. Yeah, which I certainly could not do the day after screaming for 4 hours straight. So yeah, that was a regretful job.
And it's in those screaming moments, because Dallas is a right-to-work state, and some of us are in the union but have to go financial core, which means basically you're technically a member of the union, but you're technically not a member too, because there's just no way you can do only union work in Dallas. There's just not enough of it. But it's definitely when the union steps in is where you really appreciate them is in those really painful roles, because they have restrictions on how long you can scream like that. They have different rate structures for those sort of things to kind of help protect actors from destroying themselves for 2 weeks. I had one role recently, and I think some of it is that it was a session where the director was in a phone patch farther away from us. He was in California, I was in Dallas, and I guess he just couldn't hear me well over the phone because everything I did, he kept saying, "Could you make that bigger? Could you make that just like top of your voice like bigger?" And all the lines just ended up being yelled, and it was disappointing because the first bit of direction he gave me is that, all right, well, my client, he really wants this voice to be subtle. And by the end of it, I just felt like I was screaming like a Nazi the entire time.
Right here in front. Yes, you.
So I was just wondering, this is a question for all of you, have you always aspired to be voice actors, or something triggered it, like, along the way?
Question was, did we always aspire to be voice actors, or did something trigger it along the way? I wanted to be an actor. I didn't know about voice acting specifically when I decided I wanted to be an actor. I was 3. So I just wanted to be on television. It just kind of happened that way for me. I mean, because I have such a unique voice, people kept saying, "You should do voiceovers," or, "Let me introduce you to this person who works on the show," and blah, blah, blah. So, like, for me, it just kind of happened, like, that was my path. And that's always where I worked the most, like, in commercials and voiceovers. So I just kind of, like, found my niche along the way.
For me, I've been doing voices since I was a kid, and for those of you who were in my panel yesterday, you heard the story. I tortured my poor mom with these dumb voices behind her. And one of my heroes growing up, as all voice actors, is Mel Blanc, Looney Tunes. But I did actually start doing stage and theater and film and television. I still do film and television. How I got into voice acting is I was doing a stand-up show and sketch show in New York City, and a lady saw me on stage and came up to me and gave me her card and was like, "You need to call me." And she was a voiceover agent, and that's how I parlayed into voice acting. So for me, it was a natural kind of addition to this career.
Yeah, I didn't know I wanted to be a voice actor when I was younger, but I did know that I was destined to do something with my voice or in audio, because when I was a kid, I used to love to record things. I just had a bunch of different recording devices, like stereos and jam boxes, and I always liked to experiment with that. Whenever I was really young, I used to get out of having to write papers by asking my teachers if I could do an audio report instead. And all that really meant was I would go to the library and I would rent check out as many sound effects records as I could and make an environment out of it using my jam box and my stereo. And my first experience with voice acting is when I get to grow up in the generation before caller ID and stuff like that, so I would prank call everybody. I prank called everyone from the youngest age, because you could get away with it back then. Like, there was a time when it was even fun to prank call because they had something that was called Star 69. And it's not as dirty as it sounds. Like, it just called back the number that called you. It wouldn't tell you who called, it would just call that number back. So I used to actually love to use that as a prank call. I would call it, "Hey, your refrigerator running? Yeah, you should turn it off," or whatever. And then they'd call, and then they'd call back, and I'd go, "Oh yeah, that must have been my son. He sure does like to prank call. I guarantee you he's gonna get a good beating tonight." And I used to love to change people's message machines. Outgoing messages. I still change my outgoing message like once a week. That's awesome. That's awesome.
On the aisle back there. Yep, you. The one who just looked back to see if I was really calling on you. I was.
I was wondering if, when you're doing a character, are you mostly directed how the voice should sound, or do you mess with it for a while before you find what it really is?
Typically, the way that I work is you'll have the character description when you're auditioning for the character, and go by that character description of what they're looking for. And I really try and focus on what that character's attitude is. And of course their age and everything else. And then the director will usually, if you book the job, then you go in and as you're recording, the director will usually play back what your audition was, so that you get the gist of what it sounded like. And then from that point, then the director will then direct you, not saying, no, I wanted to sound like this. He'll be like, no, take what you did and go from there, but then and you'll what I call sink into the voice. And the director will come back at you and say, no, try it that way, that's the one, go with that. And then from that point forward, you thumbs up to the director, and that's when you sink into that voice after you kind of jam it into their memory that that's the voice they want, you go with that voice.
When I'm doing a new voice, typically what I'll have the actor do, you'll come in, and then we'll read 0 minutes. We'll have
0 minutes.
I'll have them read through. Like I'll just as soon as I get in there, I'll say instead of just going line by line, I go, all right, just read down the first 10, and just as they're reading it, you're like, that's good. Actually, bring it up just a little bit, like a little bit more energy than that, and then once they settle into it, then you just start recording. Guys, thank you very much. You have been an awesome.